All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another year of this podcast that I decided to do. Um, if you're new, aka Jordan Lovett, I just kind of go over random things and give my completely biased opinion on stuff that's happening in the league from week to week. A little late to doing this one. I was going to do it Tuesday, didn't feel like it. I was going to do it Wednesday, didn't feel like it. Planned on doing it yesterday before the game, and by the time I knew it, it was game time, and I was like, yeah, I want to watch this. So Friday afternoon it is. So what I'm going to do, I gotta get back in the swing of this real quick. For those watching on YouTube, the draft board is now on screen. Um, I'm going to give everybody my thoughts on their best pick and their worst pick, and then give everybody a grade for the draft. That's new, so we'll do that. We'll go over, obviously, NFL news, a little bit of last night's game, and then, as always, my predictions of what's going to happen week one. Excuse me, this is a one take podcast, so I can't edit out things like me burping because I'm not that skilled. So let's just get right into it. NFL news that's happened. I've got down that Isaiah Likely is out week one, which should be good news for a pretty good week from Mark Andrews week one. Everybody knows last year he goosed for the first like 2 or 3 weeks. Rough times. And starting wide receiver Christian Kirk for the Texans is out week one. So I'm assuming that means Jaden Higgins gets in there earlier than normal, but you never know. Keon Coleman, Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, and Malik Neighbors are the notables that have gotten the good to go status, and they are going to be playing week one. CMC, I hate to talk about this, but CMC is kind of sort of practicing. He's at practice, but he's not practicing with the team. I can't believe that it's not even, the games haven't even started, and I'm already dealing with this bullshit. I should have known, but I had to have balls of steel. So here I am dealing with this. Marion Hampton's going to start over Najee Harris, and Amari Cooper retired. So I thought he was already kind of retired, but anyway, if you're not good enough to be on the Raiders, you probably should retire. Talking about last night's game, I will start off by saying that the Philadelphia Eagles players and fan base, for the most part, are pieces of garbage. That I know Dak spit on the field or whatever and then smiled in like a mocking, like, fuck you thing, but you still don't spit on somebody. That's cheap. I don't like it. Doesn't have a place in the NFL. Other than that, the game's decent. I ended up going to bed when they delayed it for the Lightning or whatever because I was sleepy. And I watched the highlights of the remainder of the game. And notable takeaways, CeeDee Lamb had a big game, but a little case of the drops. Dak Prescott looked good. Cowboys defense is super suspect, which we all knew that was going to be the case coming in. And the Eagles, Jalen Hurts looked good. I mean, Saquon is Saquon. I mean, there's not really to talk about there. But Jahan Dotson was the leading Eagles receiver, and that was a little weird. I think A.J. Brown had one catch, if I'm correct. That's weird. I mean, I know Dallas's defense isn't good, but you would still think they would pass the ball a little bit more. But I guess Jalen Hurts and Saquon just run the shit out of the ball, and some victory or the secret to success and get victories. So, anyways, okay, moving along. Let's do the draft grades and the best and worst picks. I'm gonna start off by going off, picks 1 through 10. So we're gonna start off with Jordan Orshofsky here. Best pick, I've got Brian Thomas in the second round, at the tail end of the second round there. That's pretty crazy that he fell that far. We all went crazy with running back. Well, some of us more so than others. Love it. But getting him there, feel like that's a pretty dang good value. Worst pick, I wrote down Jacoby Myers. I mean, if he wanted a trade, he isn't going to get it. So I'm wondering if he's going to be a little bit of a diva, if they're going to, not involve him as much, because I think this is a contract year for him, so he could be out after this year. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there in Las Vegas. I don't think Las Vegas knows what's going on in Las Vegas, but and just a caveat, when I say your best and worst picks, it's completely my thoughts and predictions. I have known to be wrong many times. And some of the times, even with these worst picks, I just had to pick one. It's not like I had Jacoby Myers on my draft board, for instance, but I just have to pick somebody. And I feel like it's too easy to pick like your last pick of the draft, like your flyer people, and then it's a little bit too easy to pick Jamar Chase as your best. So like I'm not, just bear with me here. Anyway, back to Orshofsky. I gave him an A-, and my note that I wrote down was just solid all around at every position. So moving on to Kim. Best pick, I gave DeAndre Swift in the 6th. I feel pretty good about DeAndre Swift this year. They don't really have anybody behind him. I know he's not super talented, but Ben Johnson does some crazy things with, granted, I would say that Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery are more talented than DeAndre Swift, but still, if that system is the reasoning for them being really good, DeAndre Swift should be pretty good this year. Worst pick, I have Kelsey/Evan Ingram. And the only reason I have that is because I think you have two good tight ends. And I feel like it's the same as with quarterback. If you have two good quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks, because you're going to inevitably start the wrong one every single week. You pick Travis Kelce in the 9th, you play him, whether he's good or bad. And now you have that decision of like, do I start Ingram? Do I start Kelce? And you're going to end up shooting yourself in the foot more often than not with that, I feel personally. But I know you did quarterbacks too with Baker and CJ Stroud, but I really don't think that's much of a decision to start CJ Stroud. I just think you kind of wanted some depth, so that you picked him there. Draft grade for Kim, gave her a B, only because of the double up on the quarterback and the tight end. Feel like you could have got some, positional players at running back or receiver and done a little bit better in the draft there. But overall, B, not bad. Moving on to Becker. I've got best pick of Keon Coleman. I really like Keon Coleman. I think he's set up for not a resurgence. A surgence. Sure, that works. I think he's going to break out a little bit this year and show what he's made of. 11th round, really good value there. I know I really wanted him there, and I got mad when Becker took him. Worst pick, Breece Hall in the 4th, just because of everything that you already know about with Breece Hall. Braylon Allen potentially breaking out, the team not really feeling like they want him super. I don't know what I'm going at, but anyway. Moving on. Becker gets a B overall grade, and I put that the wide receiver room is a little weak. And, I only say that because Tyreek Hill, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, a lot of things could go wrong there. A lot of things could go right. But, besides Adunze and Keon Coleman, I'm not counting Brandon Ayuk because he's not going to be back for, 6 weeks. So half the season's over by then. You stash him on your IR, you pick somebody else up, fine. But your wide receivers could be the detriment of your team this year, so you get a B in my book. Jordan Lovett, king of the running backs. Best pick, Caleb Johnson. With the news coming out, which I don't believe any of this, but him being, third or fourth on the depth chart, that's BS. I also wrote this down before Jaylen Warren got a contract extension because that murkies the waters just a little bit. I don't know what to think of that, and it's one of those time will tell things. So, worst pick, Joe Mixon. Completely understand why he did it, but I think dude is pretty much, I don't want to say done for the year, but I think even when he does come back, he's not going to be Joe Mixon that you want. And I know it's the 11th round, so why not take a shot, throw him on the IR? I'm not saying I wouldn't have done it myself. Just had to pick a worse pick. Draft grade of C for Lovett, only because he has no freaking wide receivers. You drafted 2. We have a minimum of 2. I get the strategy. I don't believe in the strategy. C for the grade. Moving on to Tiffany. Best pick, I have Puka Nacua at the 3rd. There's a lot of red flags up, but at the 3rd round for a guy that, could, this is all dependent on Matthew Stafford. If Matthew Stafford is good, this is a steal in the 3rd round. If Matthew Stafford is not good, 3rd round value for Puka is probably, I think, where he would go if Garoppolo was starting the whole year or something, just because he's still really good wide receiver. So I think that's a very good pick. Worst pick is Marvin Mims. She has since dropped Marvin Mims, but what the hell? I know that's Lance's boy. You can't have him on your team. Gave her an A- and put that she's a little weak at running back, which, Devon Achane, Alvin Kamara, a little suspect there, but everything seems to be good with the Achane injury stuff, so we'll see there. Myself, this was kind of one that she picked, the best and the worst, and we came to a consensus on the grade. So best, Jalen Waddle, only because it was the 7th round, and if Tyreek Hill is busted, like some people think he is, I don't personally, but Jalen Waddle could be a good pick. Little overshadowed with how often he goes out with injury, that he's actually a good player. He just is, you don't want to watch the games. So, worst pick, Cam Scatterbo. Everybody's kind of, she just piggybacked off of, I think it was Orshowski that said it during the draft. The starting running back was right there. Why did you not take the starting running back? I'm going for long-term upside, but I get it. Worst pick, Cam Scatterbo. Grade of an A-. A little bit weak at running back and quarterback, and especially now weak at running back if Christian McCaffrey is hurt. It's Jacobs and Eckler, and that's it. So, sad days. Moving on to Ben. I have his best pick of Tony Pollard in the 7th round. Good value there for a guy who's going to be pretty dang good for at least the first 4 weeks, and we don't know the real extent of Tajay Spears' injury. Usually with running backs, it takes them a couple weeks to come back in, even if it is a split, to get up and going to 100%. So you got to think that's probably 6 weeks of Tony Pollard being pretty good. By then, your fantasy landscape has kind of sorted itself out a little bit, a little bit more, so you can kind of make a trade. You could do a pickup of somebody on the waiver wire by then. I'm hoping. I don't care. I guess I know Ben's hoping that Quinshon Judkins' decision is made within the first 4 weeks, so you can kind of figure it out from there. Speaking of Judkins, worst pick, we have Quinshon Judkins because he's not even technically signed to the team yet, and there's a whole NFL suspension looming. Yeah, he was found innocent, but I think the NFL is still going to give him a suspension. Does it come this year? Does it come next year? A lot of question marks for an 8th round pick. I personally would have taken a lot of other people before I took Judkins that early, but yeah. So got him written down as an A minus, and my notes are his bench is quote unquote criminal, and I mean that he has Judkins, Rashi Rice, Jordan Addison as his bench there, so they're criminals. Anyway, moving on. Matt, best pick. I've got Stephon Diggs in the 9th. The Patriots, I mean, wide receiver 1 for sure. Maybe only wide receiver. Who knows? I think that's good value there. And worst pick, Chris Olave in the 7th. I understand why you did it. I think he's one big hit away from a career-ending, his last concussion. Dude's been concussed like 6 or 7 times now, so it's one of those things where like we all think that Tua is one hit away from not playing ever again, but we don't talk about Chris Olave being the same thing. So I had a do not draft on Chris Olave for that very reason. You could have maybe had I guess I won't do the same round here, but Travis Hunter, Jerry Jeudy, Roma Dunze, like I preferred all of those guys over Chris Olave. But if he's good and doesn't get hit, and maybe we're stupid, but he still does have Spencer Rattler throwing in the ball. So gave Matt a B. Strong on the quarterback tight end positions with Lamar and Brock Bowers, and then put slightly weak at running back and wide receiver for the starters. And that comes with the territory of drafting your onesies very early. B from Matt. Lance, I've got your best pick as Ricky Pearsall. I still hate that you took Ricky Pearsall from me. I really, really wanted him. I think he's going to do great things on a really easy schedule in San Francisco. I don't believe in Brandon Ayuk coming back and being really anything great. Juwan Jennings is there, so that throws a little bit of a wrench in it, but I think Pearsall's talent will prevail. And then the worst pick, I've got DJ Moore. DJ Moore has seasons where he's really good, and he has seasons where he's really bad. And spending the draft capital in the 5th round for DJ Moore when there's all these other players on the board that, potentially have more upside based on your opinion. I just don't like the pick. So gave Lance a B+ and wrote down he is slightly weak at wide receiver with, DJ Moore, but at the same time, I'm basically looking at his team and I discount completely DJ Moore and Cooper Kupp, and that's just opinion based. The Cooper Kupp could be amazing this year. That happens all the time where a player on one team has a bad season, he goes to another team, and then he's relevant again. So could be completely wrong. That's kind of why I baked in the B+ instead of, a B or a B-. Travis Hunter, Ricky Pearsall, good. Malik Neighbors, obviously good, but with injury concerns. And then I just don't like DJ Moore. So, and last but not least, Tim. Best pick, I have T. Higgins. I know everyone hates T. Higgins. I like T. Higgins. He's kind of like the Jalen Waddle. It feels like he gets hurt every freaking game, comes off the field, and then at the end of it, you look at his fantasy points, and he has like 15 to 20 fantasy points. You're like, what the hell happened? So I told myself that I was not going to be discounting T. Higgins for that reason anymore, and I still didn't get him. So it's all good. Worst pick, Tucker Kraft in the 8th. I know that's where everything started panicking for you, but really feel like that was a big, big reach in the draft. I know other people said too, but like, I don't think Tucker Kraft would have went anytime soon. You still had Hawkinson, Kelsey, Warren, Njoku, Laporta, Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram, like every single tight end drafted after Tucker Kraft, aside from Dalton Kincaid. I would have taken over Tucker Kraft, and I think most other people would have too. So a little bit of a reach there. Maybe you believe. I personally don't. I've got your grade as a C, and I wrote down that you are weak at running back, quarterback, and tight end. Patrick Mahomes, while a good NFL player, has been proven to not really be a fantasy football commodity at quarterback, and I don't like him. So there's that. Obviously, you're weak at running back. You know that. We know that. Lovett took all the running backs, so he knows it. But yeah, anyway. Moving on to the week 1 matchups. Now, I know that Thursday night game has already happened here, so kind of screwed that up just a little bit. And this is going to be a little bit of a learning experience. First time I've got on the actual Sleeper website to look at the matchups. But we will do it live, damn it. As we start off with me and Tim, I predict that I am going to be victorious this week. You got me beat at running back, especially if CMC doesn't play. This is going to be a lot closer game, and Tim could even take it, but I'm hoping that CMC plays. Everything is trending that way, but, I don't know. I don't believe that Jordan Mason is the starter for Minnesota. I don't even know if I believe that it's a 50-50 split. I think, personally, Aaron Jones is going to start the season. So I got that as a negative for you. Mahomes tonight, I don't know what to think. I think they're just going to run the ball a lot, personally. I think George Pickens having 6 points is kind of maybe skewing this a little bit for me, but I just kind of think I've got you beat this week as far as the matchups and everything else. It's going to be close, but I've got me winning. And we have Lance versus Tiffany. And I don't know what I would have said before last night's game, but with the information that I have of last night's game happening, I've got Lance winning this one. Jalen Hurts putting up just as many points as her quarterback and wide receiver 1. It's kind of going to be hard to come back from that. The games here with Seattle and San Francisco, and then Vegas, and him having Genty and Kenneth Walker in potentially bad weather games. Usually that means running the ball quite a bit. I really like Kenneth Walker for the start of the season when he's healthy. It'll eventually turn around, but for now, that's great. I do believe in Ashton Genty. I think they're going to have to give him the ball quite a bit. Neighbors and Travis Hunter. Neighbors should, regardless of whether he's healthy or not, he's going to get peppered with targets because that's the only person they have. I like George Kittle and Pearsall this year. Travis Hunter, he's listed as a starting wide receiver, but the cornerback 2 or whatever, so he's probably going to be playing more offense than defense. We'll see about that. It's a shame you didn't start Javonte Williams, which hindsight's 2020. I would have never started Javonte Williams, so it is what it is. But Achane and Kamara should be all right. I'm looking for Achane to run all over Indy, but I still don't think it's going to be enough with the rest of your team to overcome what I think Lance is going to do. So I've got Lance winning that one. Ben and Matt, your Smoking the Bear is hilarious and confusing at the same time for figuring out who this is. This one I haven't quite looked at a whole lot. So Lamar, I think I've got Lamar over Burrow in that one. Hampton over Cook. Pollard over Pacheco. I'm thinking London over JJ in this matchup on this week. Obviously, Devonta Smith, 4 points, not good. Amon-Ra, would have picked him over Devonta Smith any day. Ooh, yeah, okay. That makes man, you guys both got unlucky. At least you were playing each other. Kind of evens out a little bit there. I'm going to give a super, super slight edge to Matt this week. Yeah, see, they even kind of 51 to 49%. I think this one's going to be probably the closest game of the week. I just saw not guilty for, yeah, he's guilty, bro. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to give a slight edge to Matt just because I think some of the matchups are going to kind of overproduce on projections. I really think Drake London's going to have a big game this week. I think Brock Bowers will have a big game. They always use Montgomery a lot early. Now I know Ben Johnson's gone and it's all up in the air now, but I still think they're going to use the same formula there. So I've got Matt winning slightly. Lovett and Becker. I'm going to give the advantage to Becker just because of Matthew Golden might come out and give you 0 points. I highly doubt it, but Jaden Reed, is he going to play? I don't know. Christian Watson, I don't know if I've seen if he's going to play or not. Romeo Dobbs, Matthew, there's just too many mouths to feed and not enough targets there. Plus, Josh Jacobs is there. They're not going to be like a huge passing team. So Matthew Golden as your wide receiver 1 is rough. Deebo Samuel, you're really hoping that he has a lot of gadget plays or is just back. He's still going to have to share targets with Terry McLaurin, so not thrilled on that. I think both of these projections is going to hit the under way, way hard. Dallas Goedert had a decent game. I expect Trey McBride to do about the same thing, if not more, against New Orleans. Running backs are very good, but Travion Henderson probably not even going to be the starter in that game. I think they give Ramondre more work than they do Travion Henderson, and everybody freaks out in the fantasy community. So I'm giving Becker the edge on that one. Bijan, I'm not expecting a whole lot from Breece Hall, but if there's ever a game that Tyreek Hill is going to look like the old Tyreek Hill, it should be against Indianapolis. I know they're better at corner, but not good enough. And then we have Orshofsky and I can't even see what that's a picture of, but Orshofsky and Kim. They got Kim favored here. Oh, well, she had Saquon, so that's nice. Who did he have play? Oh, Eagles defense. Okay. Let's see here. I'm definitely going to pick Baker in that Atlanta matchup. Saquon is probably going to outperform James Conner. I don't know, Chase and Brian Thomas, though. I think this is going to be a decently close game, but I'm going to give the edge to Kim just because of the things that I already know. Saquon having a good game. You got Baker to Evans connection. I'm calling for a Evans touchdown. It's not a bold call by any means, but yeah. So I'm going to give the slight advantage to Kim, and I'm going to pick her to win this week. So yeah, nothing crazy has happened on waivers just yet, so we will talk about that kind of stuff this year. And as always, if anybody wants to hop on this with me, you can always either come over and we can record. We can get on Discord, like a Discord call, and we can record your voice that way. But it's always more fun for you guys if you have someone else's opinion other than just mine, because I know eventually you guys get tired of my bullshit. I get tired of my bullshit after a little bit, but if no one volunteers, it is what it is. You don't have to listen to it, but then that makes me feel bad. So volunteer. come on the podcast. Let's talk it out. So, thank you guys for listening, and as always, I will try to get. I'm gonna put up on Spotify and YouTube, and I'm gonna try to have these recordings every Tuesday. I think Tuesday or Wednesday is the day that I'm picking. And yeah, so have a good weekend, and thank you guys for listening.